So, looking forward to today's conversation.
Shut up.
Yeah, I was wondering what that fucking smirk was you had on your face. You were just plotting that. So anyways, yeah, great. Really looking forward to this discussion today. You brought up a really cool topic, discussing life lessons we've learned from playing poker. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that personally, and I've shared this with a lot of people, that I think poker has given me more valuable lessons than almost anything else I've involved myself in my life. I've learned, just an insurmountable amount of knowledge, and just became a better person because of it. But let's go ahead and discuss that. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, totally agree with what you said. First thing that poker has taught me is really just taking full responsibility for my results, even though I can't control everything. So what I mean by that is, like, if I were to play a $25,000 tournament, let's say I don't sell any action, I just play at $25K on my own. Let's say I play perfectly and I don't cash. It's like, I could feel frustrated and, blame bad luck and whatever. But it's like, no, I decided to play this tournament, and I know how tournaments go. You're usually going to lose. And so even if I played perfectly, the fact that the 25K loss is a big loss for me, like, it's my responsibility to know going in that, like, this is too big of a buy-in for me to be playing, because within sort of the normal bandwidth of variance, like, this could really be bad for me.
Yeah. I like how you started off with 25K because you're just that fucking rich. No, I mean, this honestly goes towards anybody. I mean, whether it be, playing a $250 tournament, like, you go and you play, say you got $1,000 in your bank account. You shouldn't be going and playing $250 tournaments, but say you do, you have to go in with the expectation, like, hey, I might not win this tournament. I mean, even the best in the world cash, 1 out of 5 times?
Yeah.
Something around there, 20%. And I think knowing that that's a possibility of the outcome, you have to be prepared to not let that affect your emotions if for some reason things don't go your way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think sort of the beautiful thing about poker is the longer you play it, you just realize, like, I am the only one that can have any long-term control over my results. And I think in sort of what I would call the normal world, if you have a job and things aren't going well, you have lots of coworkers, you have your boss, you have customers, you have all this other stuff you can kind of complain about or blame it on. Mm-hmm. But I guess what I've learned is through poker, like, everything in your life is at least somewhat a result of your choices, even if it's not like a conscious decision. If you have a job where it kind of sucks, it's like, at the very least, you've been choosing to not quit, not change.
Yep.
Like, there's always something you can do. It doesn't mean there's a perfect solution out there by any means. And the same goes for poker. It's like, well, if you're losing, or even if you're breaking even and winning, but you find yourself, like, really down after the losses, and you find yourself, like, not feeling great after the wins, it's like, well, you have a few choices, and it sounds like it's probably not worth it for you at the moment, but you could either study really hard and get better, or if it's something you just want to do recreationally, you can just work on improving your attitude when you lose. If the stress is coming from the financial side, you can just play lower stakes.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff, but, like, the fact that you feel like shit after a little losing streak or something, like, there are a lot of different things you can do to change that, or just stop doing it,
That really kind of sparked an idea in me, is, like, one thing that I really took away from poker that helped me out a lot is even if it wasn't like a financial issue for me, but I found that I was unhappy when losing, or I just wasn't having fun. And it wasn't specifically because of the finance side of things, which, I mean, full disclosure, I definitely have played buy-ins far too high for my bankroll. So I have experienced that.
I think everyone's had to do that to sort of learn why not to.
I wasn't as financially mature when I started playing poker. That's also another thing that I've learned from poker is I'm definitely not where I want to be, but I've definitely grown that. But anyways, to my point, now I went on a tangent. We were talking about, going back to how I was feeling emotionally after a tournament, even if it wasn't about the finances, is taking a break. Take a break, get back from it. Because one thing that I've noticed, I was so hungry for poker when I first started. I would daydream about it all day, all night while I was at work. And then I'd go play and I'd love it. And even when I busted, I was like, when's the next one? I was just hungry. And I found that diminished after time of doing it. And I think that's natural with anything in life. Mm-hmm. If you overdo it, it's easy to get burnt out on it, right? So one thing that poker has taught me is to, if I'm feeling that way, recognize it, take a break, do something else, and let that hunger build again. And then come back to it, because not only will your results get better, but you'll play better, etc. And I do that with everything else in life. If I'm making music and I'm not vibing, take a break. If real estate sucks, take a break. I don't need to feed kids. No, I'm just kidding. I can't take a break from that. But yeah, just that's one lesson.
Yeah. How often, like, how long do you feel like you take a break for usually when you do?
It's tough because even though when I do take a break, like say a few days later, I'm like, man, I should play this tournament. I want to, even though I still might feel that way afterwards. So, I mean, if I can truthfully take like a 3 week to a month break, for me personally, that is where I start like coming back refreshed. Mm-hmm. If it's any shorter than that, I kind of fall into the same thought loops. Sure. Or like mental loops that I would go through, like, man, my luck is so bad. I'm doing this and that. If I give myself a big enough break, I find that my thought loops are not as negative, and they're more like what I can focus on to get me a better result.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I know exactly what you mean too. And that sort of goes back to, if you're in a bad mindset, you're sort of taking responsibility, and you're like, okay, I know what, for me to play my best game, I know myself and I know I need to take a bit of a break or whatever it might be. And, rather than trying to force yourself through it, that's kind of what you're doing.
Well, that's why I feel bad for professionals, like such as yourself. I mean, this is your mainline or your mainstream of income, you know what I mean? So it's like, but I mean, you do well enough to where you have freedom to where you can take a break and not have to worry about
Yeah, I can, but also I would say like I just took basically a 2-week break. I played a little bit on my phone at night though.
Yeah, I remember texting you, asking, you're like, I'm ready to be back. So yeah, maybe that break wasn't even needed for you. You just took it.
Yeah, you know what it was though is I realized I don't even like long breaks that much. Like, as a professional, I play so much that I think, if you're a professional athlete and you work out, like your recovery time from workouts will just get quicker. And so for me, poker, it's like I play it so frequently that if I take 3 or 4 days off, that's the same as someone else taking a month off, maybe.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And it definitely varies from person to person. Absolutely. I'm kind of like I slowly rejuvenate. Mm-hmm. So, and I have a lot of things on my plate. I have a lot of hobbies and things that I do. So like I'm often distracted if I need to get something out of the way. But anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, same concept though. Like for me, it'll be more like a night or two that I don't play for the most part.
Yeah. And then you just come back ready to slay.
Exactly. Yeah.
For a lack of a better term.
Yeah. And so, no, I think that's a really good point though. And it's something that you see a decent amount of in, I guess, like gambling or poker specifically. But when you play poker, you see gamblers that don't play poker. And it's like, one of the best things you can do for yourself is develop self-control and like recognizing your emotions and being able to recognize when your emotions are impacting your performance in whatever it is. And over time, you know, doing some of both, where it's like, first off, you get better at not letting your emotions affect your decisions, but also getting better at recognizing, okay, well, they are affecting my decisions now, so I have to stop making these types of decisions because I'm clearly not making them as well.
Well, let's this is a perfect segue into another life lesson learned is reacting. When should you and when shouldn't you react, and how is that applied to your normal life? Mm-hmm. I think a great place to start is on my end is like discussing like a bad beat, for example. Mm-hmm. You get yourself all in. Aces versus kings, right? Yeah. Just the key spot, right? You pray for this spot. You found a way to get it all in pre-flop. I'm so hard to do, and then you find yourself leaving the building at the end of the hand. You know what I mean? Like you got busted. He flopped a set. Kings flopped a set, and you're out the door, right?
Yep.
I see so many times amateurs, and including myself when I first started, getting upset at these results, having, a dashboard confessional on my hour ride home, sitting in silence and just kind of like wondering where everything went wrong, what I did to the universe. But here's the truth is that just happens and you got yourself in the best spot you can. You didn't have an option of of him flopping a set. You just got your equity in good. And he flopped a set. So you shouldn't react to what you have no control of. Rather, react to what you do have control of, which is you busting the tournament, you on your way home. It's okay to be upset, obviously.
Yeah.
Let it out. Don't just sit there and be a robot. But don't blame it on other players. Don't blame it on dealers. Just know, like, this is a result of the game I play, and I did the best I could here.
What do you think helped you get better at that? Obviously, even now, neither of us is going to be happy the moment after that happens.
Right. But I usually will stand up, tap the table and wish luck to all my opponents, even though I hope they burn alive. No, again, just joking. But
curse their existence.
Yeah. So before I used to just tell them I hope they burn alive. Now I just think it. But no, jokes aside, I think what helped me honestly is just going through it over and over again. But not to where I punish myself. It's just experiencing it, recognizing it, and then going through what I should be doing to make myself a better person, which is reacting to things that are within my control, and then reacting positively to things that are out of my control. Mm-hmm. And if, the set hits, that's out of my control, but I can react to it in a positive way.
Was it ever different when... Obviously, in this example, aces versus kings, that's like classic cooler.
Yeah.
What if it's like this dude 4-bet jams with like jack 8 off and flops a full house? And what was it ever different when your opponent did something clearly just idiotic and he got there? And
that's a great thing to bring up because that does happen. And I do find myself like, even to this day, that those are way harder to deal with than just a classic cooler because it's like, wow, I just got owned by an idiot, right?
Yeah, like this didn't need to happen.
Yeah, this just didn't need to happen. So again, this is even tougher than the cooler situation because it's like you having to like process why this happened. Like when it didn't have to, right? Like aces versus kings, that just happens. You're getting your chips in, but this guy somehow 4-bet me with jack 8 or whatever the circumstance was, flopped a full house against my aces, and then we lose. Again, it's just stepping. I still struggle with this. I don't ever lash out at the opponent verbally, but I'm just like, what in the fuck are they doing, man? Like in my head, I'm like, wow, all right, good game, right? Yeah. Again, just stepping back and recognizing how they play and how their actions I have no control over. So I should not waste my energy getting upset at that.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Those tend to be tougher.
It's a great point to bring up, though.
Yeah, it's again like I know for me when I come across that situation, it's not something. It's not like, I know I'm pretty stoic at the table generally.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll like stand up and leave. I won't like say anything, but yeah, it sucks for a little bit, but it's important to just tell yourself, this is how I win in the long run, is people making these mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
and-
I repeat that to myself over and over on the way home. Even as it's in pain, it's a good way to like, it's like my Advil, you know what I mean? Repeating that to myself.
Yeah, so that's part of it. And reminding yourself that, like, you know, when let's say you get it in aces versus jack 8 offsuit, you don't have 100% equity. Like, every time you end up winning that, you got a little lucky still.
Yeah.
They just need to get a lot more lucky to win that hand. But when you win that, you still run over EV. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so for you to, you know, obviously whenever you lose that, you feel very unlucky, but in the long run, you're supposed to lose every spot a certain percentage of the time, you know.
Sorry if you guys can hear the alarm in the background, of course.
I feel like they probably can.
Yeah, good. Hopefully not. But what were you saying?
Yeah. So just recognizing, you know, if it's aces versus kings, you're like 80% with aces. So the average person, you will lose that 20% of the time.
Yeah.
And that 20, I think the tough thing for people, including me, is like the times when you lose that, you feel very unlucky. But the times you win, you just feel like what happened was supposed to happen. So you don't really recognize that.
It doesn't stick with you as much.
It doesn't stick with you. Even though when you win that, you just went from 80% to 100%.
Yeah.
Like you ran above EV.
Yep, exactly. It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think it's also, and you brought this up earlier, a good thing to remember is that, and when you do lose those 80-20 spots where you're an 80% favorite, right, is that when you lose it the 20% of the time, you're not unluckier than other people. You don't take it out on yourself because you're unluckier than them. It happens to all of us, and that at that moment is how the run out was. It's not because it's you. It's not because of how the universe is reacting to you. It's just the result.
Yeah. That is a huge point for me. And that's where it's like I don't mind hearing a bad beat story here and there. And trust me, I've told plenty. I think I used to tell a lot more than I do now. But yeah, like if you're playing poker and you just lose, you know, get unlucky in some spots, like it's tough to realize, but you're not uniquely unlucky. You know,
that's how I wanted to put it. Uniquely unlucky. You're not.
Yeah. These sorts of things happen to everyone who plays poker. And, you know, when it happens too, you have different ways you can react. But if you want to win in poker, no matter how lucky or unlucky you're getting, you should always just be trying to get better. And so that was another point I was going to make, is like one of the things you can do to help the pain of the results go away, just get fucking better. Like, you know, for me, I've been doing this professionally for a while. And even a couple of years before that, I was winning a decent amount of money playing. And it's like the pain of downswings or bad beats is significantly less. It's significantly easier to handle when, you know, on your life, you're already just way up.
Yeah.
You know? And if you've been playing long enough to be up a lot of money in poker, you've gone through a bunch of ups and downs. You know, early in my career is like more downs, you know, breaking even, that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, in this moment, maybe this bad beat sucks, but if I look at all the poker I'm going to play for the next 5 years, like, I'm not going to remember 99% of these beats anyway.
It's so easy to get caught up in that moment instead of looking at the big picture. Absolutely. I'm curious, I have a question for you. What does that look like for you? You know, like you said, use that energy from a bad beat to want to get better, to reduce it. What does that look like to you?
Yeah. So it's obviously, if it's just like a pre-flop spot where I lost, it's move on, whatever. But sometimes, and this happens both live and online, but I'm like, man, let me think about the spots in this tournament where I genuinely am not 100% sure I made the right
and being
play.
honest with yourself, genuinely, like,
Yeah,
not just saying nothing I could have done here, like really always take that part away and look at it.
Yeah, and even in pots I win, I'll sometimes save. I have a list of hands I play online that I save into my, like, I have an Excel document where I track my results, and then I have another tab where I just copy paste the links to tons of hands, and I'll look at those and I will put them into like a solver based tool, or if it's more of a pre-flop thing, I'll just look at some of the more detailed charts and like, is this a spot that I played correctly? Even if I won, it's like, I guess just sort of trying to pique your curiosity of the game and be like, okay, is this something that, like, I'm clearly not the best player in the world. So if I was the best player in the world, would I have played this the same way?
Yeah. So are you using this energy from a bust out, this like, I'm not feeling good energy, to go home and study right away? Are you giving yourself a break?
Not always. Sometimes I will.
I've definitely seen you come back into the hotel room after a bust or two and then just get right into right into the solvers and kind of asking yourself. And that motivates me. I mean, I remember it clearly. Like, I'm just like, wow, this dude, that's hunger right there. Like, that's why you are where you are, is because of like how you look at things. So
yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you recognize that.
Absolutely.
And I do feel that way a lot of the time where, part of it is just maybe I'm not even looking at hands I played in the tournament. Although I think in these instances it was, where it's like, man, someone raised, there was another call and I had 15 bigs with ace 10 off. Like, is this actually a good jam or is it not? And obviously what I find is like, usually whether it's the right play or a mistake, it's very close, but it's just a good opportunity to sort of either learn a little bit more, to be a little bit more precise with my decisions in the moment, or at the very least just reinforce something that I was pretty sure on, but it'll just give me more confidence on it in the future. Because that's sort of the process of it, where you get put in these situations time after time, and to get better, you want to figure out how you're supposed to play these spots better. And at first it won't come as naturally, and then over time, muscle memory, repetition, then those decisions that used to be tough become easier. Yeah. But then you notice a whole new set of decisions that are, a little less consequential. Like, they're not going to make as, like, the mistakes you make after that are much smaller, but then you start correcting those mistakes.
Right. So you're essentially, so you're looking at this hole, right? And it's a big, massive leak, right? You got a ton of water pouring out. You get that foundational pour on it, right? Which is like, you're getting all these easier things. You're filling it up. Not as much water is coming out, but like you're saying, as you get better and better at that, you're still plugging leaks, right? Like the stream is just getting thinner and thinner as you do it. I don't think it ever completely.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember who said this, but some poker player said, if you look at, the skill level of every poker player, in 1 being the worst possible player and 100 being the best possible poker player, like, this would be the supercomputer of supercomputers type of thing. Even top pros are probably only at the like 40 to 50 range.
Yeah.
So there's so much more to learn, and so it's like, if those top players are still trying to learn and get better, and you're playing and you're crushing yourself over losing ace queen versus pocket tens with 12 left in a $500 tournament, it's like, you have nothing on like I have nothing on those players. You know, it's like there's so much more you have to learn. It's like whether you're super lucky or super unlucky, it's like if you want to be good at poker, you have no excuse not to keep trying to get better. And I think that's a super helpful thing to transfer to
that
real life.
mindset is what will help you keep up with the game and not let you fall behind, as you've seen with a lot of like pros you used to watch on TV pre 2000s, you know what I mean, like late 90s, early 2000s. So you know who the ones who've studied and kept up with it, you know the ones who don't, like, and it's very, you know, apparent. So did you have anything else you want to say on that? There's another topic I wanted to bring up as well.
No, I mean that's kind of the gist of it.
Okay. I think the next one is probably the biggest and most important topic that has made me a better person, and has the skill set has been strengthened through poker, and that's patience.
That's a very important one.
Yeah, I mean, patience, and it comes in so many forms, whether it be losing a hand and tilting, or just not getting good hands for 2 hours straight and folding and then you start, I got to get in the mix. I can't win the tournament without doing something dumb, right? And then blame it on that. You just patience and reacting to it. And I know that me being aware of it in poker, while I would tilt a lot at the beginning, I slowed that down over time. And it's just by thinking about it, by being aware of it. And the more I'm aware of it, the easier it gets over time. It's kind of like plugging leaks. That's how you practice it, is just be aware of it and be conscious of it. I think that's played into my life and my relationships tenfold. Like, my fiance and I see my patience reflect in that relationship. I see it reflect in my relationship with my parents, with my friends, and then also within poker. And it helps me make more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's completely all over the place. Yeah, patience, like have a lot of it. and that goes with, not only the cards, but the people at the table, the dealers, etc.
Going back to what you said about, not getting a hand for a while and then doing something stupid. Yeah. That made me just think of this example that I've gone back to for years, even though it was just some random like $250 tournament at Canterbury. It was,
this is when you first started?
No, I was already decent. It was probably 4 years ago.
But still kind of relatively new to the scene. I mean, I didn't know who you were 4 years ago.
Yeah, you'd probably seen me, but anyway, so it was some $250 tournament, and there's a guy who, he was kind of short. He had like 17 bigs, and I remember he raised in late position. Someone put him all in, and he thought it for like 5 seconds, and he had like 17 big blinds. He calls and shows 10-9 offsuit. And guess what? He loses. He busts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, shocking. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy result.
And as he stood up, he said like, I had to make something happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, okay, I guarantee, and this guy clearly is not like a studied player, but I guarantee even if you just put him down in a situation with 17 big blinds, he would never think to call off that whole stack with 10-9 offsuit. So it's like, what is it about his current emotional state that made him decide to do that?
Yeah, he was just straight up bored.
Yeah, he got bored and was like,
used that as a justification to make a bad play.
The annoyance of playing this short stack isn't worth it. Therefore, I either want to double up so I have, quote unquote, so I'm back in it.
That's a great way to put it.
You're always in it.
Yeah.
Or at least if I bust, then it's over and I don't have to do this shit anymore.
Yeah, that's great. So like you said, like the annoyance of being a short stack, it's like being a short stack is part of the game. Don't think of it as annoyance. Just adjust from where you were to where you are. Take a step back in the tournament, realize where you are, and say, I'm the short stack now. You know what? I might have to fold all the way down to 8 big blinds. Even though I have 11 big blinds and jack eight off on in the cutoff or even on the button, I don't need to jam this hand, even though it looks like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But listen, that 3 big blind, that 2.5 big blinds isn't going to do anything to your stack. You got another orbit out of it. Like there are spots where that does help you.
Yeah, it's not. There's a certain point where it's worth the risk, and it's like
yeah, exactly.
It's very easy.
I almost went on a tangent. Thanks for saving me there.
No, that's all right. I'm sure I've thought sort of the same thing too. Where, anyways, so yeah. The point being is like patience is super important, and I think that's a good, like you said, it helps your relationships a lot too. Because if you think of the mindset of someone who, if they're bored or frustrated for an hour or two, and it just makes them make a much worse decision than they normally would. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that'll show up in a lot of things too. Like if you were, you said like your relationship with your fiance. Well, if you're the type of person who it's like, oh, when things get a little rough, like I'm just going to go for the all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like kind of.
Yeah. And I have in past relationships and it's never worked out in my favor. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's, poker has taught me that. It's given me the opportunity to exercise my patience and to grow it. And I'm thankful for that, definitely. Let's kind of take a second and let's recap what, like, kind of the points we talked over. What was the first one that you had started off with?
Yeah, taking full responsibility for results, even though just because you can't control everything.
Yeah. That
doesn't mean you aren't responsible for the results.
Yep. Okay. And then secondly was just kind of reacting to things that you have control of and or how to react to things you have control of and how to react to things you don't have control of.
Yeah. And I don't know if we got specifically into this, but instead of like hoping bad things don't happen, know that sometimes they will, and just prepare yourself for those times.
Yep, and remind yourself of that preparation when the time comes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. And then I guess we went over patience, which we just discussed. Was there one more, right?
It kind of all flowed together.
Yeah, I did.
It's a lot of the same stuff where like...
Yeah, they definitely have overlapping qualities, but I think those were some really good topics to kind of go over. Did you have anything else?
I was going to talk a little bit about money management. Which is
absolutely.
kind of in the same category as everything, where it's like,
I didn't want to miss this one. This is great. Go ahead.
Yeah, where it, we had talked about like if you bust out of a tournament and it stresses you out financially, is like that's on you for entering. Like no one else chose to do that.
Yeah, like how we started this off.
Yeah. And obviously if you're someone who has a normal job and you do poker for fun, whether you're a winning or losing player, like you don't need to stick to the same bankroll constraints as someone who does it full time. But you still have the responsibility to yourself of like, this is the amount. You still need to understand how much variance there can be and set yourself up in a situation where you're setting yourself up to succeed, or if you're just kind of a recreational player doing it for fun, like set yourself up so it will stay fun. And if you lose a bit, it doesn't really matter.
I think a fundamental leak a lot of people have is people not having their ego in check, which I definitely have when it comes to finances. Like buying into tournaments that are too big for their bankroll because they just know they're better than everybody. You know what I mean?
And, they know that because it's such good value.
Yeah,
quote
it's
unquote.
Such good value. You can find a million different reasons why, right? But
sometimes the person saying that the reason the tournament has value is because people like them convince themselves to play.
Yeah, and it's an issue that almost every player that I've dealt with have come across has had at one point. I know I definitely started that way. Financially, I was a wreck when I started poker. I remember, won my first $1,300 off like a $5 Poker Stars tournament. I don't know. I think I bought a Nintendo Wii and a bunch of games on it. And then there was that bankroll. And then I remember when I first started getting really passionate was when I don't know, it was like 2011 or 12 when I started really playing in casinos a lot. I it was at Running Aces. I chopped up $150 tournament for like $2,300.
Mm-hmm.
That money immediately
drugs,
hookers, blow, all of the above. No, it immediately went into the same bank account that my living finances were in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mistake number one, like as I've gotten older and more mature, like understanding the importance of separating the two. And because I still see this even with, people who've played poker for a long time, is like they have no poker roll and life roll. It's just all one thing. And it ends up, they end up going broke a lot, and then they have to change their whole lifestyle because of it. When you separate the two, it kind of eliminates that issue if you live by the correct principles, or if you follow the correct principles.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine, like, if you go broke, that's a hit to the ego in itself, and you can kind of, say all these things to sort of justify how unlucky it was or whatever. And it's like, yeah, ultimately, however it may have happened, even if you were the best player in the world and you just got super unlucky,
Yeah,
it's like you could have managed your bankroll better. And like,
I had no one to teach me about bankroll management. I would read here and there about it, and everything just seems so unrealistic that I never really adhered to. Like have 1,000 buy-ins to this, and I'm like, I'm never gonna have $250,000 to pay. I mean,
right? Yeah. I mean, you don't need 1,000. But
but it was astronomical numbers when I first started reading about it. It was crazy like that. I mean, these were just on, I don't even know, 2+2 forms or whatever they were. But I think that the main point here is that I went busto multiple times when my poker and my life roll were one, and I had to kind of rebuild by not playing poker, right? I used those opportunities to grow, right?
Yep.
I didn't use them as times to just beat up on myself and then repeat the process over and over. Even though I did go broke multiple times, I eventually got the hint, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And again, it was just me being aware of the issue the entire time. Like it didn't happen immediately. I struggled very hard to do this for me. Finances were never my strong point, honestly. Not anything I was ever great with, but it definitely, after going through all these pitfalls, I finally got there, right? Like I have completely separate accounts now for all these different things I do for my different adventures. And it definitely gives me a lot more freedom.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things, is just the freedom. I never went broke, but early on I definitely was like, it was sort of like, if I had sort of what would be a big downswing at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I felt it and I'm like, whoa, I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how can I not feel this? If I was like a year out of college or something and had a few $1,000 and I lost like 1,200 over whatever span, which is obviously now like that can be one quick session. But for me, I was like, okay, how can I avoid feeling this way? Because I know that this will affect my play, and even if it didn't affect my play, like I don't like the way this makes me feel in general. So I was like, okay, I started an investment account. I'm like, I'm putting money over here too, and I won't touch it. So it's like, even if somehow I did bust my whole like bank account worth of money, it's like, oh, okay, but I've been saving, and I've been assigning money to this other account that's just going to stay there. So that sort of took a little weight off.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like I learned early on, it just almost really never is worth it to play super far out of your bankroll, because you won't play as well. And
especially if you play consistently, like I think it kind of matters. Like if you're like a once a year thing, it might be different.
Yeah. No, that's a fair, I think, yeah, like playing the main event or something. Might be, but that literally at least is a once a year thing.
Yeah. You don't have the opportunity to play it more than once a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, if you're doing it consistently, it's just going to catch up with you. You don't really want to feel that. You don't want to feel like you're flying close to the sun, especially now that I do it full time. It's like, it's not just like a trivial thing. I'm sort of busting like a theoretical bankroll, but I still, still have an income of another job. It's like, oh, this is how I'm making my money. Like,
Yeah,
I gotta
that's
keep.
it.
I have to
Yeah.
keep this afloat. And
A lot of people can't do it. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of keeping on top of everything and following rules.
yeah, and I don't even know if I'm naturally good at that. It's just sort of, you have to make it a habit.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part too.
That's what it really was. Is like, I made it a habit to manage money pretty well. I sort of forced myself into it, and
That's good because a lot of people make it a habit to not manage their money well, not intentionally, but just by the decisions they make. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This might be a good place to kind of to tie things up. I'm very thankful for what poker has taught me, and even though I've had a lot of downs, I've had a lot of ups, and I've learned an infinite amount from it. So super thankful for poker for all that it's given me. Go ahead and finish it up.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I would agree with that. I think I've referred to poker as sort of an emotional and behavioral boot camp in a way,
That's good.
because it really, in order to do it successfully, you really need to get toughened up,
Yeah.
And it's
It can beat you down.
it still has beaten me down.
Yeah.
But it just makes you stronger every time. And
Resilience for sure.
yeah, if you put in enough work to come out the other end of it, better off. Like, I think poker can be great, but I think, it can be great, and it can really suck too.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you do it right and you keep learning and building, I think the greats can outweigh the bads. The goods can outweigh the bads. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's been my experience.
It's been super fun sharing all these with you. It's been a good conversation. I think that if anyone who is listening to this wants to talk about things they want to work on with us, or if they have questions further diving into what we've talked about, you can always just send us a message, and I'm down to talk to whoever about, poker. I love it. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And this is one of the topics I feel like I could talk for hours or days.
yeah, I was really looking forward to this conversation. There's a lot more we could talk about. Maybe we'll do another part on this in the future. Definitely would look forward to that. But for now, we'll leave it here, and we'll see you on the next one.
Till next time.